RV airflow systems now proudly installed on my little gem. Come along and I'll show you how we did it. Hey, and welcome back. Today we are getting involved in the install of my RV airflow block. So a few things we want to do here, whether you're watching this, as this introduction is probably going to be used across both the how to measure video and how to install video, because the beginning stages are the same. So regardless of which video you're watching, the first thing we need to do is to strip down the base housing from this, and that'll give us access to do the measurements. Now, before I take this apart, because once I take this apart, I'm moving straight through the install, I did use my anemometer, velocimeter, velociraptor, whatever the hell you want to call this thing. I will link this below. This is a cheapie from Amazon, but it did the job great. So I went around and I measured all of the individual ducts, and I got my preliminary measurements down here so I have accurate data to go on for my particular unit once I put this block in. But first, let's get this housing stripped down, and we'll get into then the two issues, one measuring and then the install, which I'll break apart to two separate videos so these won't be as long. So the first thing is you take off your filter grates. Now I have these disposable filters. I didn't really like those washable ones that came with it. They never seem to wash up clean. These are disposables. I will link these below as well. These are RV Air, no relation to RV Airflow. Pretty inexpensive. Once we put this block in, we're going to be utilizing almost this entire region for return as opposed to just these 4 inches. So it's critical that you get a good filter. These are like MERV 6. That's pretty decent. So let's get these taken off. There's going to be 4 screws that hold this bottom panel, and this bottom panel will be going back up post-install. The panel beneath this will not be. So we just have 4 screws. Zip them out. All right. Put your screws aside. Quick note about this. Once we install the new unit, these dumps will not be utilized. So I'm actually going to put some tape across the back of them to hold them shut, because we're now going to be using the whole area as a return. If you open these dumps, this will now just be unfiltered return, and you don't want unfiltered return because it's a bit of a job to get up in there and clean that coil. So put this aside. Next is this underplate, which seals off your return from your high side, your blowing supply side. So when we're removing this, for the sake of measuring, if you are just measuring, you would put this back on. For the install purposes, this is no longer needed. This is being fully replaced with that block. All right. Now that we have this open, this is your little divider that separates your high from your low side, however you want to phrase it here. But this is the separator dividing this into the evaporator and condensing sides of the AC. Both for measuring, just to make it easier, as well as the install, this needs to be removed. It's literally just wedged in there. There is nothing holding it. It's kind of just all pressure. Okay. So we have the grate down, we have the middle divider down. We have to get into the ductwork. Now, I have the plastic inserts on my duct that actually have screws in them, which don't really seem to be holding into anything. So I'm just going to pull this duct out. So you see I have some separation here. Like here's the wood, and there's the actual duct. And there's some openings on either side. Now I have, of course, there's 2 ducts, one on each side. It feels like they actually caught something with this screw on this side. So let me back this screw out. Okay. So they were in there. I got some like black butyl caulk or something here on this end that you probably can't see because the angle of the camera, that I have to remove. Don't know why they would have, well, I know why they would have done that because it didn't seal right. But this is where you really got to get up into your cavities and really look into your AC systems, because there are issues that occur, and if you don't resolve them at this point, you're going to have problems later. Or it's not even problems, but it's not going to be as efficient if you don't get rid of the issues that already exist. But he really loaded this down with this butyl. All right. So I have my ducts open here. I'm going to just kind of look around. This block is actually going to really make this seal super tight. So some of these openings, like this area here, I would recommend maybe wrapping some duct tape around here to seal that up before you insert the new duct. So I'm going to go ahead and get this bracket down first, and then we'll see what we need to tape up and seal up in here, and then we'll get the block installed. So these long machine lags, this actually holds this bracket to the unit on the roof. So take them out, be careful with taking them out. When we go to put these back in, we're not going to have to make sure we're aligned right, but these all have to be tightened to a spec. If they're over tightened, you may cause warping and bending of the bracket on top. If they're under tightened, it may allow that upper unit to vibrate and create a seal issue. So when we put these back together, and we'll revisit this when we're there, these have to be tightened down to a specific torque. And you'll need a little special tool for that, but we'll go over that when we're there. All right, down it comes. All right, we have our bracket down. What I'm going to do before I get involved with any type of taping up any openings or anything else is I want to test fit this block up inside there, and just, even though we did all our measuring, just see where it's going to sit, how it's going to fit in case I need to move or shave back anything. So this here has to line up with that, so it's going in just like this. All right, looks like we're going to have plenty of room to do what we need to do. So what I want to do here, this is going to be sealed really tight. I don't know I have to get involved with taping that because this insert, so we took out those other black inserts that were screwed in. This insert has a peel and stick unit. Now, you have one side that's flanged, the other side is not. The side that's not flanged is going to go over there. And you just got to kind of finagle this in place. You're going to peel these off, and that's going to stick to it. And when you install the new unit, you're going to have to kind of depress that foam, which will then push it back out against the unit. So it's super tight. So I don't know I need to put some tape on there, but just because I'm a nut when it comes to this type of stuff, I'm going to put some tape on there anyway, even though that seems like it's going to seal tight. What I don't want is when I put that insert in there, that it's pushing flat on here or going above it as opposed to inside of it. So it's just a small little piece we're just going to add over here. Put it in the duct, and then bring it up and over like that. I'm going to do the same thing on the side. just to help guide and make sure that that insert's going to go in right where it needs to be. I'm not going to get caught on anything. This side and this bottom feels good, and over here, it looks like from the factory they already kind of taped it. They must have had issues on this side trying to get that in there. Alrighty, so we're going to put this in, making sure you can even reach through this hole here just to be sure that you are inside that duct. Give it a good firm couple of presses, let that adhesive do its job. Alright, that side's prepped. Let me stick the other one in place. Now you see these little notches here? For my unit, that's irrelevant. Both of these are the same. Over here, it'll be upside down, obviously. So the orientation of those little bits aren't relevant in this particular installation. And in fact, there's nothing in the instructions stating that they have to be any certain way. The only thing that they're worried about is that there you go. You see how to get that duct under there. Is that the non-flange sides are against the wall with the supply. So they're in place. Now, the tricky part about this, so again, this here has to go there like that. You want to kind of start the corners because you're going to have to wiggle this in to push back those bits and then get it up. And now because of that weather stripping, I don't know if you can see this well enough, but that's now pushing those seals out tight against the unit. So we have a tight, airtight connection to that ductwork. Before we attempt to put this metal shield back on, we're going to have to get up in here and get these holes realigned. So you may have to wiggle and jiggle this around a bit. Drop your lag bolt on the floor, hitting yourself in the mouth. And get it to where these two screws are lined up before you're trying to hold that metal flange in place. All right, we had a little bit of a difficulty there, but after further examining and taking this all back apart, I realized the little bit of the membrane, roof membrane, was cut and brought down inside on this back wall. There were two pretty large staples that were out about 1/4 inch on both sides, but you couldn't see them. They were hidden by that membrane. I could not get this back far enough for these to catch. I popped them out, screw caught fine. So, moving forward. I have this metal bracket very loose to give me room to play and get stuff aligned and caught. Oh. When you see that screw, I don't know if the camera caught that because my big mitts were in the way, but I was in there wiggling, then it dropped like 1 inch. That means it went up to the socket. So that one's now caught. Put this other one in. Now, before any final tightening of this, you know, we're using our drill. We're going to get it mostly tight with the drill. But make sure that your metal is evenly in all the way around, that it's not sitting out on the edge, it's actually up inside. Okay, so they're not tight really at all, but they're snug enough that I can get in here now and do what I need to do with the, I don't want to say torque wrench, it's not really a wrench, but I'm going to move the camera back so you can kind of see what I'm doing. Okay, so we have this back together. We have our lags in just kind of snug with the drill. So what I have here is, it's a torque wrench, but it's a screwdriver. This, if you look this up on Amazon, of course, I'll link it below. If you look this up on Amazon, it's going to come across as a firearms tool, and that's in fact why I have it for any gunsmithing I'm doing. It's really important in this application especially that we follow spec with our torque. These 4 lag bolts, as I've already said, actually are what hold that entire roof unit to the roof. This flange is what sandwiches that on and holds that on the roof. If these aren't tightened enough, you may get wiggle and shift up top, leading to leakage. If they're too tight, you may actually end up stripping or warping the upper frame, which also would not be good. So the recommendation for the Coleman unit that comes with Grand Design is 40 to 50. So we're going to go, I like to err more on the side of stronger than lighter. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. So I'm going to give it its full 50. So how to adjust these, you just kind of pull this down and twist it. And there's a little gauge that'll go up and down. I don't know if that's going to focus on that. So we're going to set this to 50, maybe a hair under. And what this is doing is this is giving tension to the spring that's in here. One more hair more. And then turn it until it'll go all the way shut. All right. So that's at 50 right there. So what'll happen is I put this on here and turn it, and I don't expect it. I'm probably going to have to give these. Oh, did you hear that pop? So that one's tight. So we're going to Z pattern. So here, over to here. Now, once we go through these Z's and we get them all clicked once, we're going to go back and do it again. Because as we tighten the others, these ones may loosen up. Now, see this? There it goes. That was the first one to click. By the time I got back to it, it needed a couple more turns. I'll keep doing this and see until there's no more motion, it's just a click. There you go. We are done. Well, for that part. Now, we're just got to put on the outer cover. That center splitter, all that stuff is now null and void because of this block. So this is going to go on. Okay, 4 screws in, that is done. These side dumps should just remain closed at this point. Because there's increased airflow, you may get a rattle that you didn't have here before. If so, you can just pop these back out. And if you can't reach up in there, just take the screws out and put some tape or some sealant, clear silicone or something on top there, just to seal them. They should be fine. If you get a rattle, you may have to wedge a little something. So that's it. We got to put back in our... Couldn't find my vents. Make sure your filter is installed. If you are using these RV air disposable filters, green side goes up. That's it. Install complete. Now I'm going to do some air readings. I won't bore you with watching me do that. And then we'll come on back and tell you the results. Well, I worked up a sweat with this little project. That was no joke. They were fighting me tooth and nail. But again, it was lack of preparation. I didn't notice those staples, you know. So simple, straightforward. You just got to make sure that, you know, you do some housekeeping up in there before that you put that block in. So I'll put a graphic up here, but here's my real world numbers. So now I'm doing these measurements, and there's a couple different ways this measures: kilometers an hour, miles per hour, feet per second. I guess this is meters per second. But when I looked over the conversion, how you can convert to CFM from these measurements, it seems like the MS is the easiest one to do that with. The numbers themselves will show you the increase in performance, but I do want to convert these to cubic feet per minute as well. So in my bedroom vent, I have 5 vents. In the bedroom, my pre-install was 2.4, and the post-install was 4.6, so that nearly doubled. In the kitchen vent, I went from 3.0 to 4.4, so a nominal increase, but still, I mean, it's like 1.5 times. It's still a big increase. Living room, biggest increase, went from 1.9 to 4.0. The vent over the door went from 3.6 to 5.1, and the bathroom, which was strong out of the gate, which started at 5.1, is now blowing at 7.7. And just standing here, and this is nothing I've experienced before, just standing here, I can feel the air blowing across me. It's wonderful, actually, because I'm all hot and sweaty. I never had that sensation in this camper before. I've never sat here and been like, oh, that vent's blowing right on me, you know? Now I have that, and that's a wonderful thing for me. My wife might not like it too much, but it's a wonderful thing for me. So that's, I mean, that is the long and short of it. Again, these dumps, if you open these dumps now, this is just return air, because remember, this entire block now is return air. So keep your dumps shut, keep your filters clean, because that will affect your airflow certainly. And yeah, I'm living proof. Again, I have no obligation to give them any type of a glowing review, but I'm a scientist at heart, and the proof is in the pudding. You can't argue with numbers. So short of something that I wasn't paying attention to, it was an easy install. Probably in the end would have only took 15-20 minutes if I wasn't filming and wasn't stopping and starting and moving stuff around. Well worth the investment. Again, if you use Bates Photo 15, you can save 15%. This unit here that I have, which is probably the most common block that you'll be getting, I think they retail for $170, so 15% off of that, you're saving a nice chunk of money and really giving yourself a break over summer here. You're going to end up with not only better airflow, air circulation, more efficient cooling, and being able to really come down in temperature further than you were prior to having this unit in there. The more cold air you're blowing into your unit, the faster it'll cool down and the cooler it will become. So it's the increased return will also factor into the efficiency of the unit. So, I mean, I can't say enough about it. It is being somebody who is in the industry. I've worked heating and air conditioning for years and years and years. Somebody who was going to be literally an aerospace engineer, literally a rocket scientist. I can tell you that this is a pretty ingenious invention. I'm happy to have it, and I'm happy to be part of the team. So again, rvairflow.com, all your install instructions, all of your compatibility instructions, measuring instructions. I'll link everything below. Go out there, get yourself a block, and enjoy your summers in a lot cooler of an area. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more.